participants, and we commit all the organizers to Lord. Let's just lead us and guide us. Let your will be done, and let your name magnify. We give you all the glory. We offer all this prayer. Most precious name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Amen. At the outset, I take immense pleasure in welcoming one and all for this faculty development program, third day faculty development program on artificial intelligence. With a grateful heart to the Lord Almighty, I take immense pleasure in welcoming one and all. First of all, I thank the management of France Xavier Engineering College for giving this wonderful opportunity. I thank the chairman of our France Xavier Engineering College, Dr. S. Jitis Babu. And also, I wish to thank our managing director, Engineer C. Arun Babu, for all the support they have rendered. It's my immense pleasure to thank Dr. K. Jayakumar, the General Manager for Development, for all the support and motivation he has provided conducting this faculty development program. Also, it's my honor to welcome and thank Dr. V. Velmurugan, the principal of France Engineering College. I welcome Professor P. Brinda for all her tireless effort in conducting this faculty development program in a successful manner. Also, it's my honor to welcome the resource person of this day, Dr. J. Jason Vedanayagi, the Senior Assistant Professor from Department of Computer Engineering, Anna University Regional Campus. Welcome you, ma'am, to this August gathering. We are so fortunate to have you as
Thank you, sir.
for this session on the of this faculty development program. It's my honor to introduce Madam to this August gathering. She has got more than 13 years of teaching experience, and also she is the recognized Anna University research supervisor. She has published 11 papers in SCA indexed journals, and our resource person has also published her research findings in more than 15 national and international conferences. And she's the editor of the book titled Blockchain Technology Fundamentals, Applications and Case Studies, CRC Press 2020. It's an immense pleasure to have this eminent person as a resource person for this session of this faculty development program on artificial intelligence. Welcome you, ma'am, wholeheartedly to this faculty development program as a resource person. And we hand over the session to Madam, and ma'am will be taking over. Over to J. Svedhanagi, madam.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. Nice to meet you all in another session on learning. I feel so blessed because you all started with a prayer. So it's my practice that I pray before every session, every class which I teach. So this I developed this habit when I started my career in Karunya Institute of Technology in the year 2001 as a very small bud starting the career in 21. I feel when I start the class, the prayer, God takes care of it, and I feel blessed when Sir started the session with a prayer. Thank you, Sir. Thank you for the introduction. And you all have been there for the past two sessions on artificial intelligence already. So today's session will be on the learning aspects of artificial intelligence. Okay, how learning plays an important role in artificial intelligence. So this will be our task to see today for another 1.5 hours. It's not new actually. So this paper, artificial intelligence, is a code paper which we have been, or the developed universities in developed nations, they have been teaching this for more than 40 to 50 years. They started researching on this particular topic somewhere around 1950s, and the research was at the boom. So many funding was there, and people started to talk about artificial intelligence, robotics. Not now, okay, they talked about it so many decades ago, and the projects were dropped. Actually, the funding of these projects were dropped somewhere around 1980s, because to implement these artificial intelligence concepts, or these make these machine intelligent, okay, they needed a lot of computing power. They needed machine power, they needed power, memory power, they needed processing power. So altogether, I say it is computing power. They needed so much of computing power, which at that time in 1980s we were lacking, or we can say it was not affordable. It was expensive. Even if it is available, it was not as cheap as what we see today. In our hands, we see a huge amount of computing power in the hands, in the form of mobile phones today. But that was not feasible in 1980s, where still we have to go to a particular room where our machines will be sitting in a huge size, where you have to wait for a few days to execute the program and get back the answer. Where this artificial intelligence concepts, which was in the dreams of so many researchers. Okay, so what we are seeing here after 40, 50 years was a dream of so many researchers on that day, where it was not feasible because of the lack of computing power at a cheaper cost. And so they people dropped it, and the funding for that particular projects were dropped by the funding agencies. Okay, naturally, a country will be funding on some elements only when there is a requirement, where is the need, or we'll get something fruitful out of it. So people withdraw, or the funding agencies withdraw, the countries administrators withdrew funding from these projects, and so it was on a down curve. People were not talking about all this stuff till a point. But now we have come to a point now where we are actually, you are trying to, the FX institution, you people are trying to get a new course on the artificial intelligence itself, and course on that, a 4 years course, an engineering course on artificial intelligence is a big thing. So why do you think like that? So there are some PG courses on, say, big data analytics in our main building, our main campus, okay, in CEG, and already we have stuff like software engineering, multimedia, and all. Now, recently, we have big data analytics there. But you are looking for starting a course on artificial intelligence in 2021, and it's the right thing. But why? Okay, how we have come to this point, studying one thing as a paper, and now we have come to a point where we learn that as a course. Okay, so that's the thing. So that has happened because of so many evolutions which has happened in so many fields, like big data. We talk about big data. We talk about quantum computing. That is, the computing power is tremendously increased. Okay, the data what is available is tremendously increased. The connectivity, the network communication, it has improved tremendously. So now today it is possible that the dreams of those researchers who started their research in artificial intelligence sometime back comes fruitful. So everywhere we'll be having some intelligent agent, intelligent programs, or some bots, robots doing or taking care of things. So that's where we are heading towards, and that's where we are here talking about the same old core subject, artificial intelligence. Again, தூசு தட்டி திரும்பவும் எடுத்து ரொம்ப ரீசெண்டாக நம்ம பேச ஆரம்பிக்கிறதுக்கு காரணம், because it is becoming the trend. Okay, so always we'd like to go behind the trend. So it's trending. So what is intelligence? So it's about, are we all intelligent? Yes, of course. Are we bringing up our children intelligent? Yes, of course. We are trying to make it. So how we ensure that we are intelligent? We are trying to understand. We are trying to learn from everything. No, whatever we come across, everything what we see, from everything what we hear. Okay, where everything what we perceive, we are trying to understand. We understand by our reasoning. We think, okay, we process it in our brain, and we convert that into some sort of intelligence, and we put that in our brain once again. That is our memory bank. Okay, so we put it in our knowledge base again, and this we use it for some problem solving. Okay, in the future, suppose if you are facing any issues in our life, day-to-day life, or in your professional career, we try to solve the problems based on the experiences what we have come across, or what already we have come across, or we try to interrelate the concepts what we have known already, and we try to apply in a real world scenario. So we make some decisions. Our decisions are wise or foolish because depends upon the experiences what we have come across. Okay, so this is the human. So this is a quality what we possess. Okay, so right from our 0th year to the year where we are learning. We are in the process of learning. We are gaining intelligence. Okay, and that depends. In 40 years, someone might have a different knowledge base, different kind of intelligence, and another person may have a different kind of intelligence, because Gartner rightly says that the intelligence is of different types. So some sort of intelligence varies. Okay, we acquire more kind of intelligence in one field, maybe in music, or some analysis, or mental arithmetic, or some kinesthetic intelligence, depending upon how we are programmed by God. Okay, now we try to make the same programming to the machines so that the machines can be programmed, the machines can be made intelligent. Okay, so that is what is we call as human intelligence given to machine in an artificial manner. We call that as artificial intelligence. Okay, very simple, simple as that. Now, coming to machine learning. So we would have seen about the past 2 days, you might have heard about, all of us are familiar about searching problems, hypothesis space in artificial intelligence, a predicate logic, proportional logic, the knowledge representation, the other ways of knowledge representation. And then we are familiar with the game problem, game theory, and all. Okay. But there is one unit from the artificial intelligence subject which we have already taught in Anna University regulation. So that is about learning, the aspects of learning. So learning is a very important dimension of or important component of artificial intelligence, which makes artificial intelligence to be the trend today. Okay, so this is a very, very integral part of the artificial intelligence component, which is making it trending. So we talk about data science. Okay, we talk about data science today. Everywhere we say that there is a lot of openings in as data analyst or data science. Okay, there are so many openings in data sciences. It's because of this underlying concepts of learning, because a machine cannot become intelligent without learning. A man cannot become intelligent without learning. So suppose if we can make mistakes, okay, we can make trials, we can make errors, we can learn from all these things. What we do is not only from our success cases, but also from our failure cases, we learn for our life. Okay, so that's very important. So these same kind of learning process, how God has programmed us to learn. We don't know how we are learning. Okay, I don't know how I'm delivering my lecture. Whenever I start my I start, no, I don't know how, but I'm pre-programmed. My brain is pre-programmed. Okay, so the same way, learning we have to impart into the machine. So that concept is called machine learning. So it was first defined by or coined by a person called Arthur Lee Samuel in 1959. And this is the field of study which makes the computer to have the ability to learn, like what kids learn. Okay, you teach them this, you say this is a crow, this is an apple, this is a tomato, this is a hair, this is in black color, okay, this is black, this is red. You teach them colors, you teach them names, you teach them names of objects, you teach them relations. Okay, this is so and so, this is so and so, like that. So they keep learning. You train their brain. Okay, the brain is trained to learn. Yes, so the same thing we are trying to give it to the machines. Now first, Tom Mitchell is an important person who has, so this is a book. No, even I had a coursework when I started my research, and the machine learning, introduction to machine learning, the book was written by Tom Mitchell. He says that it's a computer program, intelligent program. So which means it has to learn. A computer program, if you have to say that it's intelligent, it has to learn. Okay, so you say that it's learning. When, how do you say, no, how do you say, now we are all teachers, no, how we find out that our students are learning? We find out our students are learning maybe after a class. So now I have to ask you questions, right? I think I have to ask you questions, but yeah. So if I am teaching to my students, no, here and there I ask them, what's this, what's that? Hey, well, have you understood it? Or no, what we see now, what we saw now. So if I feel some students sleepy, I just interrupt and ask them. Okay, at least they are able to reproduce something. No, if they are able to store that in the memory, if they have just heard it, they will repeat it. Okay, if they have processed it, they will be adding more to what I have said. They say in their own words. They interpret something what I have said in their own words. If they have memorized it, or just they have heard it and stored it as such without thinking, they will be able to at least deliver what I have told, all the words which I told. So this is a way we see that they have learnt. In the sense, we ask them some questions, subjective type of questions, or we say we put some internal assessments, in semester examinations to evaluate their learning actually. Okay, so it's a teaching learning process. So we see to that the kids are learning what we teach. In the same way, that is their performance in terms of marks is the criteria. So that's what I want to highlight. Okay, so you are having a task T. Mitchell said that you are having a task T and you are learning based on the experiences E. Okay, that is based on the teacher, how the teacher is telling. I'm sharing a lot of experiences with you now, because learning is an experience. It's not mere just saying the points and leaving and going. It is an experience, okay? And because that makes you remember a lot of things. So that's improve the performance of what you have learned. Okay, next is a performance measure. So if I talk about a student, I can say it's the marks of the student which will matter, or the suppose if they are able to face an interview in an FA after attending your class in DBMS or some related subjects. So of course they have learned a lot. Okay, so I'll be always happy when my students say that really ma'am, your class on DBMS was useful. When they come to final year after attending their interview, when they say it, it causes some goosebumps to me. Okay, so Mitchell says that learning is a process. A computer program is set to learn when a program is doing a task T based on its experience E, and you are evaluating its performance based on some criteria P. So for example, marks. Okay, and this marks has to increase. Okay, how do you see the performance of a student? No, first test ku adutha test ku improve aayirukano, adutha improve aayirukano appadina we say okay, he is learning. Okay, first konjam sumara irundha kuda apra nalla padichu varumbodhu we say that the performance is improving. So Mitchell says that the performance is the main criteria. Based on the experience, okay, we make a task, and then based on some feedback what we get, or the rewards what we get, we keep improving ourselves. Okay, so if you fail, you learn more. Okay, if you may commit some mistakes in maths, you try to solve more problems on it. Okay, so when you get more and more experience, okay, when you have more and more exposure, your performance increases. And then there is another person called Herbert Alexander Simon, who is a Nobel Prize winner for economics, and he is also a person who has been awarded with the Turing Award. Okay, so he says that learning is any process which improves the performance of a system. From experience now, everything is experience. Okay, the first day when I was teaching in Karunya, in front of the students who are even of more age than me, my words were, I was shivering, I was trembling, my even my tongue was held inside. That's it. But experience, slowly I've gained my experience, and the way I deliver my lecture has improved. I have learned to teach. Okay, machine learning is also something that is, we are making a computer learn. Okay, or we are making a computer program intelligent by improving its performance by repeated learning. So this we can say that, suppose if a chess game, okay, online, that is computer chess game is there, the game is improving its performance by playing to itself. Okay, it gains experience by playing to itself or playing to some opponent and error environment, and it improves its performance. So there we say it learns. And see here, why we talk about machine learning today or deep learning today, because now nowhere we are in machine learning. Actually, we have just jumped into something called deep learning. So here, earlier the machine was able to understand a 2 only when a 2 is written as a 2. ஓகே, கரெக்டாக டைப்ரைட்டிங் மெஷினோ இல்லைனா ஒரு கம்ப்யூட்டரோ வந்து 2 எப்படி எழுதணுமோ அதே போல் எழுதினா மட்டும்தான் கம்ப்யூட்டர் வந்து 2 ரெகக்னைஸ் பண்ணும். But as teachers, we evaluate a number of papers of our students. Do they write 2 in a type of font? No, their fonts are like horrible, right? Sometimes some students write it so well, we feel good, but sometimes it causes a headache to us because they write in different styles. We just want to examine more and more to find out what character really they have written. So this is an example. What I'm showing here is some example. Okay, so see the shapes, so much here. Okay, and here again, okay, we are having, so here, so this is somewhat okay, right? So this is okay. So even this kind of tools there, when someone is writing like this, we write it like this. Okay, it's not complete. Avasarathil eludumbodhu complete pannama vittalam. So all this stuff. So now even this, it's an ulta, the angle rotation on the mari irukku. Okay, they might have scribbled it somewhere in different angles. Okay, so this is also an 8, this is also an 8, this is also an 8. Okay, so understand. So now the machine has to have some level of accuracy that it identifies a number or a character like what human does. So machine learning helps to do it. Okay, otherwise it will be a very எப்படி பண்ணலாம்னா ஜஸ்ட் அழகாக ஃப்ரேம் பண்ணிடலாம், அதோட கிராஃபிக்கெல்லாம் நம்ம சொல்லிடலாம் 2ங்கிறது எப்படி இருக்கும், கர்வ் எங்கே எடுக்கும், எப்படி எழுதியிருந்தா அது ஒரு 2 அப்படின்னு நார்மல் ப்ரோக்ராமிங் நம்ம எப்படி பண்ணுறோன்னா இட் இஸ் லைக் அப்படியே டிப்பிக்கலாக டூ எப்படி இருக்கணும் அதை நம்ம அப்படியே கோட் பண்ணுறது தான் நார்மல் ப்ரோக்ராம். பட் அதையே வந்து ஹியூமன்ஸ் வந்து எப்படி அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் பண்ணிக்குவாங்களோ அதை எவ்வளோ தான் நம்ம வந்து ரொட்டேட் பண்ணி டில்ட் பண்ணி எப்படி எழுதியிருந்தாலும் ஒரு சின்ன குழந்தைகிட்ட கூட நம்ம அதை காமிச்சோன்னா இட் வில் பி ஏபிள் டு சே இட்ஸ் அ டூ. ஓகே, டசன்ட் நீட் சம் ஒரு பெரிய எக்ஸ்பர்டைஸ் வேணுங்கிற அவசியம் கிடையாது. சேம் வே வி ஆர் ஆஸ்கிங் அவர் மெஷின் லேர்னிங் ப்ரோக்ராம் to train the computer to perform like a human. Okay, so that's what we are. Now, these are some of the applications of machine learning. So, some maybe since you have gone through 2 days of class on artificial intelligence, and I heard that one session was on machine learning. You might be familiar with all these things. Okay, these online fraud detections are all very common applications which we know. Okay, that is fraudulent credit card fraud or net banking. இந்த மாதிரி நம்ம transactions பண்றப்ப அதில் frauds பண்றாங்க, நிறைய பண்றாங்க. இன்னைக்கு மொபைல்ல பின் நம்பர்ஸ் கேட்டு அந்த மாதிரி frauds பண்றாங்க. Okay, so all these fraud detection systems comes under the application of machine learning. The virtual personal assistant applications like Siri, okay, Cortana, Google Assistant, and so on, which helps you to read the character what you are speaking, and they perform or they perform your request. Okay, they fulfill your request. So they are virtual personal assistants. And then email spam filtering or malware filtering, this is somewhere ரொம்ப முன்னாடில இருந்தே நம்ம பண்ணுது. இப்போ Google always does that. It filters all the mails what you are receiving into different categories. Okay, it automatically puts mails into spam folder. Okay, they are making spam filtering. So this is also an important basic application of machine learning. And then self-driving cars. Okay, and this is again, it's not new. Okay, somewhere around 1989, you had something called Allwyn. Okay, so that is, it is an automatic land vehicle neural network. So neural network based system. It's developed in Carnegie Mellon University. It was developed there, and it was started in 1984, and it was developed and came on road. It ran on the roads of CMU in 1989. Okay, so it's a neural network based model. Okay, it's a self-driving car which was successfully it ran for 90 minutes, continuous 90 minutes without any error at a speed of 70 kilometers per hour. Okay, so this was their achievement. It was back then. But now we speak about self-driving cars because now we see that even in affordable cars which we common people buy, they come with all these features like self-driving cars. If you are traveling on a highway, you can put the car in some particular gear and you can relax yourself. The car keeps moving on itself by taking images of our sensors inputs, and it keeps instructing the driver about the vehicle frequencies, what going ahead of it, and it takes some actions to put a brake and all, and to alert the driver. Okay, so we talk about it now. And then product recommendation system. So this were also back somewhere ரொம்ப முன்னாடில இருந்தே நம்ம பண்றோம். And now ரொம்ப க்ளோஸரா நமக்கு இருக்கிறதுக்கு காரணம் வந்து we are making something called as hyper personalization now. Okay, we are making something called as hyper personalization. Personalization தெரியும். What is hyper personalization? That is too much of personalization. That is hyper. Okay, when you call something is over enthusiastic, overactive, we call that as hyper. So this is hyper personalization because today if you see recommendation systems, what is recommendation systems? I understand that you know all this terminology is already. Recommendation systems is telling you some suggestions of you may like this product, Amazon telling you that you like it, Flipkart telling you that you like it, Facebook showing you some reviews on some products based on the searches what you have made in Amazon or some other search engines. Okay, and then YouTube saying that you may like this video. It's making your recommendations. Once you watch a video, it's just try to filter your interest based on this recommendation systems. So researches is going on some time back, but now I talk about this in terms of machine learning or deep learning today, or say data science, because I talk about not personalization, it is hyper personalization. That is too much of personalization because I get a 360 degree view of the customers. Okay, how do they get it? Because you guys are using 2 or 3 devices. Okay, you use your mobile phones, you use your laptops at maybe office, நம்ம எல்லா டீச்சர்ஸ் இல்லையா காலேஜில் ஒரு சிஸ்டம் யூஸ் பண்ணுறோம், ஒரு வீட்டில் நம்ம ஒரு சிஸ்டம் யூஸ் பண்ணுறோம், நம்மளோட மொபைல் ஃபோன்ஸ். யூ கீப் யுவர் மெயில் ஐடிஸ் ஆல்வேஸ் லாக்இன். யூ சூஸ் ஆல் த சிங்க் ஆப்ரேஷன்ஸ், இதை அதை எல்லாத்தையும் சிங்க் பண்ணி வச்சுக்கிறோம். ஆல் த ஆப்ஸ் ஆர் சிங்க் டுகெதர். ஓகே, நவ் வாட் ஹேப்பன்ஸ் இஸ் யுவர் the business partners, that is in terms of applications what is sitting on your mobile, or the websites what you're opening in your browsers, they know about you in a 360-degree angle. What do you mean by 360-degree angle? No, like a brain computer interface, it can just take only one aspect of you people. Or say if you sit before a computer, before earlier we are talking about something that computer will understand your emotions, or it will read your face, recognize your face. Okay, but now it's 360 means something at the back also. Okay, it keeps knowing about you, and when it knows in a 360-degree angle, okay, so it makes you some recommendation too personal to you. Okay, earlier it was customer segmentation, that is ungla madri thoughts ulla similar people, even Amazon says no, similar kind of people bought this together, similar types of people reviewed this also. அந்த மாதிரி சொல்வாங்க. ஏன் அப்படின்னா நம்மளோட இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் இன்னொருத்தரோட இன்ட்ரெஸ்டோட மேட்ச் ஆயிருக்கிறத பார்த்துட்டு நம்மள என்ன பண்றாங்க, நீங்க உங்களுக்கும் அது பிடிக்கலாம் அப்படின்னு நம்ம ரெக்கமெண்ட் பண்றோம். பட் நவ் we are in a situation called as hyper personalization, where the recommendation systems are too personally suggesting you something. It's not bulk email targeting you. Bulk email send பண்றது கிடையாது, ஸ்பெசிஃபிக்கா உங்களுக்குன்னு what you like. Because bulk send பண்றம்போது I'm not interested, I just press a delete and I put it into my trash. Okay, I press a delete, I just don't enter into it. But when I get a 360-degree angle, and when they really know that I like it, I am in an intent to buy it, okay, they are successful. They put a mail there, and now I fall into it, I just go buy their product. Okay, and then traffic prediction systems, we are looking for some smart cities. Okay, because so many cities in India is being selected for the first run of smart city implementation. So traffic prediction is very important, because these cities are struggling because of the traffic management at peak hours. Okay, so traffic prediction systems to divert the traffic in other roads. Okay, your Google Map says in a red alert that this particular road is being blocked. Okay, take another road. Or we can plan a way by seeing the maps. Okay, seeing the suggestions whether the traffic is too high or not. Okay, so that's possible with the help of machine learning. Speech recognition softwares, so virtual personal assistants are making it. And I could say that an example related with this, I'm making it text translation for NPTEL. So they asked us, no, the recent version, and we started in 2020 June. They said you can speak Google type, automatical typing. You open a Google document, I speak to it. Okay, it keeps recording that, and my language content is developed. Okay, and then I can go for a translation. Okay, so it is now recognizing my content. Okay, it is recognizing my content, and it is translating that in the language which I want, Tamil or any type of language. I'll say now, I'll come to this point again with respect to the speech recognition or language translations, because Google has adopted something somewhere in 2019, where we see a lot of change in all these products which we are using with respect to Google. Okay, and then image recognition systems, because today we are able to categorize images in a better way. Images பத்தி search பண்ணும்போது really நம்ம எதை look up பண்றோமோ அது நம்மளுக்கு retrieve ஆகுது in terms of Google search engines. Or we are able to the face recognition systems, அதெல்லாம் பார்த்தோம்னா முன்னாடி வரைக்கும் இன்னைக்கு ரொம்பவே வந்து accurate-ஆ இருக்கு. Automatic language translation, so this is what I spoke about. ஒரு language இருந்து இன்னொரு language-க்கு நம்மளால translate பண்ண முடியுது. So I think I'll put it that also here. That is, Google has used something called as BERT. BERT stands for bidirectional encoder representation from transformer. Actually, transformer is a deep learning model. I think there was a session on deep learning, maybe you might have heard or not, I don't know. Transformer is a deep learning model. Okay, so this deep learning model was introduced in 2017. So it was helpful for natural language processing. So the computer tries to understand in the language what you're speaking. Okay, நான் இப்போ பேசிட்டே இருக்கேன்னா the computer tries to understand it, interpret it, translate it. Okay, so this translation of this language what I'm speaking, நான் பேசுறது அப்படியே வந்து வேற வேற லாங்குவேஜஸ்ல வந்து அதை டிரான்ஸ்லேட் பண்றது. ஓகே, ஒரு பேராகிராஃப் இருக்குன்னா அதோட கண்டென்ட் என்னங்கிறத சம்மரைஸ் பண்றது, ரீட் பண்ணி அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் பண்ணாதான் சம்மரைஸ் பண்ண முடியும் இல்லையா? Okay, so a computer can read a content and summarize it. Okay, say something meaningful out of it. That's a two thing. So this was possible with the help of a deep learning model called transformer. Okay, so it's something similar to our recurrent neural network, but it's more parallel than the recurrent neural network. Normally the recurrent neural network, what we see in machine learning or deep learning, it is one by one, that is one after the other. It predicts a character, but it can make only in an order. But in the case of transformer, you can make it parallel. You can give the simultaneous sentences simultaneously so that the performance is improved. Okay, so transformer, the Burton நான் சொல்றேன் இல்லையா, bidirectional encoder representation. Okay, that type of transformer is adapted by Google. It was developed in the year 2018, and 2019 Google started using it for English language. Okay, for search engines for English language. In the beginning of 2019 it used only for English language, but by the end of 2019, that is in December 2019, almost Google started using it for more than 70 languages, which is existing worldwide. Okay, and next is you are using it for medical diagnosis, and then for stock market. So yes, so this is what we have already seen. Okay, only one thing in extra. So this is from Tom Mitchell. So Tom Mitchell says that machine learning application, so it's learning to predict or recognize the spoken words to drive autonomous vehicles, and then astronomical structures. We are also, NASA is trying to use or using, okay, I should say not trying to use, NASA is using machine learning to predict astronomical structures. So now it's able to predict astronomical structures with the help of the images, satellite images, what is taken by various softwares. Okay, and it's more accurate. Now the prediction of those astronomical structures is more appropriate, because we are too distant to that particular astronomical structures what is there on the space, but we are able to make some predictions with the help of machine learning. So this I have already discussed in detail, so we'll just skip. So learning problem. So according to Mitchell, any learning problem, okay, before you, suppose if there are people from other domains, okay, suppose இந்த மாதிரி என்ன ஃபீல்டில் நீங்கள் இருந்தாலுமே, suppose you have got a problem in your hand, you can convert that problem into a learning problem. Okay, so that is first is you need to have three components. What is that? The task, the performance, and the experience. That is the training. Okay, what நம்மளோட எக்ஸ்போஷர் தான் நம்ம, ரைட்டா? எஸ், எவ்ரி பர்சன் வாட் வி ஆர் இஸ் அவர் எக்ஸ்போஷர், அவர் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ். நம்மளோட ஃபேமிலி மெம்பர்ஸ், நம்ம போன ஸ்கூலிங், நம்மளோட சொசைட்டி, what are all the people we met on, what is the college in which we got education there, what are all the community we interacted with. So that's we. Okay, so basically what we are is that. Okay, so that's the experience, that's the training what we have achieved to have this much of performance. Okay, so in the checkers problem or in the chess problem, okay, gaming எடுத்துக்கிட்டோம்னா, என்ன கேமிங் நம்ம எடுத்துக்கிட்டாலும் the task is to play the game in a successful manner. வச்சுக்கோமே, performance வச்சு சொல்லணும்னா objective or the task is to play the game. Performance நம்ம எப்படி மெஷர் பண்ணுவோம், எவ்வளோ வாட்டி நம்ம வின் பண்ணுறோம். Okay, how many times you win the opponent. And then experience is nothing but repeatedly playing. Okay, my son used to take myself to play when he was too young. Okay, when he was now he calls me to play. Actually, when he was too young, no, he don't calls me to play chess with him. He prefers my mother, because my mother doesn't know all the moves and things, no, so he feels that it's very easy to win my mother. Okay, but now after having a lot of school practices, he was there in some extracurricular activities, he learned chess. Okay, and from some experiences what he gained by playing with his friends, playing with his masters, he plays it better now. So now, no, he always demands me to come, or not now, maybe a few years back when he was in that level of defeating me very often, no, he keeps asking me to play with him. Okay, so playing, that's it. That's an experience. Okay, how we gain experience. We keep playing. Either we choose a good opponent or not, we gain some experience. So this experience, what we gain, has to improve our performance. அது improve பண்ணாதான் அது learning அர்த்தம். இந்த பெர்ஃபார்மன்ஸ் என்ன ஆகிட்டே இருக்கணும், லேர்னிங் ஆகிட்டே இருக்கணும். இப்படி ஒரு மாடலை உங்களால் செட் பண்ண முடிஞ்சிச்சு அப்படின்னா, தட் இஸ் யூ ஆர் ஹேவிங் அ டாஸ்க். ஒரு டாஸ்க் செய்ய போகிறோம், அதுக்கு ஒரு செட் ஆஃப் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸஸ் என்கிட்ட இருக்குது. சப்போஸ் டிசிஷன் ட்ரீ லேர்னிங்லாம் நம்ம எடுத்துக்கிட்டோம்னா, நம்மக்கிட்ட சில ட்ரைனிங் டேட்டா இருக்குது. அந்த ட்ரைனிங் டேட்டாவில் நான் ட்ரெயின் ஆகிக்கிறேன். ஐம் கெய்னிங் சம் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ். ஐ ஆம் ட்ரைங் டு டூ த டாஸ்க். ஓகே, அது கிளாசிஃபிகேஷனாக இருக்கலாம். டிசிஷன் ட்ரீ நீங்கள் சொல்லுவோம், எஸ் ஆர் நோ, disease varuma varada. I'm predicting it, and now my prediction is evaluated based on some performance measure. நம்ம அந்த கேஸ்ல என்னவா இருக்கும், it will be the accuracy. Okay, so next problem அது கொடுத்துருப்பாங்க. What is that? Handwriting recognition learning problem. So there the task is to recognize or to identify the handwritten words. இந்த வேர்ட் என்னன்றதை ப்ரெடிக்ட் பண்ணணும். சப்போஸ் தமிழ் பழைய சித்தா அந்த ஓலைகள்லாம் இருக்கு இல்லையா, அதை கூட இப்போ கன்வெர்ட் பண்ணி நம்ம அதோட நம்மளோட சாஃப்ட்வேர்ஸ் டூல்ஸ்லாம் யூஸ் பண்ணி நேச்சுரல் லாங்குவேஜ் ப்ராசஸிங் அந்த மாதிரி இது யூஸ் பண்ணால் யூ கேன் ரெகக்னைஸ் தோஸ் ஹேண்ட் ரிட்டன் கேரக்டர்ஸ் பை ப்ராப்பர் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் அண்ட் ட்ரைனிங். நமக்கு தெரியாது, அந்த புள்ளிலாம் இருக்காதும்பாங்க அதில் அந்த எழுத்துக்களில். ஸோ அந்த மாதிரி சில டேட்டா பேஸ் நமக்கு கிடைச்சிச்சுன்னா, இதெல்லாம் தான் இப்படி இருந்துச்சுன்னா இது இந்த வேர்டு, இந்த மாதிரி இருந்துச்சுன்னா இந்த வேர்டு அப்படிங்கிற அந்த டேட்டா பேஸ் இருந்துச்சு அப்படின்னா அதை நம்ம யூஸ் பண்ணி ட்ரெயின் பண்ணி நம்ம என்ன பண்ணலாம், அந்த டாஸ்க்கை அச்சீவ் பண்ணலாம். First நம்ம பண்ணும்போது our performance may be less because we haven't learned it. We are doing it for the first time. Okay, how do you measure a performance? Character recognition la we are trying to find out the percent of correctly classified words or characters. Okay, if you are identifying the characters, correctly identified characters. Words na correctly. Okay, so that's the performance. So when keep அடுத்த அதான் என்னன்னு அர்த்தம், the system is lean அர்த்தம். ஓகேவா? Next is email spam filtering. So this is also an example. Normally நம்ம இப்போ பார்க்கறது பார்த்தோம்னா, so what's our target? Our target or task is to identify spam emails. That is the mails which I don't want to receive. Okay. So percentage performance நம்ம பார்க்கும்போது ரெண்டு ஆஸ்பெக்ட். நம்ம அந்த ஃபால்ஸ் பாசிட்டிவ் நம்ம சொல்றோம். So that will also affect. True positive நம்ம வந்து accuracy நம்ம சொல்ற மாதிரியே, when you are making wrong classification, so that also accounts for performance. That is a percentage of emails which are correctly filtered. Spam emails கரெக்டாக ஃபில்டர் பண்ணுறோம், ஸ்பேம் இல்லாத மெயிலே நம்ம ஃபில்டர் அவுட் பண்ணுறது, தட் இஸ் ஃபால்ஸாக நம்ம அதை ஸ்பேம்னு ஐடென்டிஃபை பண்ணுறது. ஸோ தட் ஆல்சோ அக்கௌண்ட்ஸ் ஃபார் த பர்ஃபார்மன்ஸ் ஆஃப் அ சிஸ்டம். And then experience will be a set of data DB containing all the emails which are labeled as ஸ்பேம். இதை நம்ம மார்க் பண்ணலாம், அல்லது அந்த டொமைன் நேமை வச்சு வேற யாராவது அதை ஸ்பேம்னு சொல்லியிருப்பாங்க, இல்லை சிஸ்டமே அதை ஸ்பேம்னு ஐடென்டிஃபை பண்ணியிருக்கோம். ஸோ யூ ஹேவ் அ டிபி விச் இஸ் having a label of that these are all the emails which are spam. Yes. Now machine learning, as you all know that it's not something which is an independent, திடீர்னு எங்கேயோ இருந்து அதுவே வந்து ஜெர்மினேட் ஆகி வந்த ஒரு ஃபீல்டு கிடையாது தானா. இட் இஸ் நாட் அன் இண்டிபெண்டன்ட் திங். ஓகே, இட்ஸ் அ ஃபீல்ட் or which is getting some influence from several other fields, or which is carrying its inputs from several other fields such as probability and statistics, artificial intelligence, okay, mathematics, okay, that is computational complexity theory, which is hailing from mathematics. நம்ம சொல்றோம் இல்லையா, class NP problem, polynomial time, NP hard. Okay, when I talk about algorithms, all learning algorithms, so it derives its concepts from computational complexity theory. Control theory, that is, it is machine learning today, it is used for automation and control. Okay, so it is applied to a field called control theory. Information theory, the very basics of all the learning is based on the information concepts. That is, how much information what you're getting from the data. Okay, so there is a field of study called information theory. So that also plays a significant influence on machine learning. And then psychology and neurobiology, because as I say, it's not machine learning படிக்கிறப்ப ரொம்ப நல்லா இருக்கும். It's like now actually I did a course on machine learning, but still my area of research is on data mining, and more preferably I teach data mining actually rather than this machine learning. But the thing is, we feel so close to it. We feel good when we learn it. Some sort of subject subjects like this, deep learning or machine learning, because it's more of related to us. It functions in a way our brain thinks, our psychology works. Okay, so it's more connected to the neurobiology of our human brain system. Okay, so that's how. So this derives concepts from all these things. நம்மளோட அடிப்படையே என்னன்னா, மனுஷ மாதிரியே that is humans மாதிரியே நம்ம வந்து கம்ப்யூட்டரையும் திங்க் பண்ண வைக்கணும், கம்ப்யூட்டரையும் பெர்ஃபார்ம் பண்ண வைக்கணும் அப்படிங்கிறது தான். ஸோ இட் derives its concepts from psychology and neurobiology. Okay, now the learning process. ஸோ நார்மலி டேட்டா மைனிங்கில் நம்ம பார்க்குறப்போ ஒரு ஒரு என்ன சொல்ல, ரொம்ப ஒரு ஸ்ட்ரக்சர்டான ஒரு இது பார்ப்போம். இந்த இடத்துலயே வந்து என்ன வந்துரும்னா, வில் பி ஹேவிங் அ something like this. Suppose if you talk about machine learning, no, it will be something like this. Okay, input some images or some video or some signals in the forms of some rows and columns. Deep data mining சொல்லும்போது we'll talk about something like this. Okay, in the shape. But now today it's not that. Okay, so this diagram is not going to speak about that, because machine learning, no, artificial intelligence, so நம்ம இன்னைக்கு இவ்வளோ ட்ரெண்டிங்கா பேசுறதுக்கு காரணம் இது கிடையாது. அந்த கன்வென்ஷனலா நம்ம பண்ணிட்டு இருந்த data mining அல்லது explorations கிடையாது. Okay, so it's because we are directly getting the data from the real world. Okay, remember the 360-degree view, no, that is we are all providing the informations about us in a 360-degree angle. ஓகே, எல்லா இன்ஃபர்மேஷன்ஸும் நம்மளை பற்றினது, நம்ம யார், நம்ம ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ் யார், நம்ம ரிலேட்டிவ்ஸ் யார், நம்ம கான்டாக்ட்ஸ் என்ன. ஓகே, how many times you use the screen, how many steps you walk, we give so much of informations to the world wide web. Okay, so with the help of some measuring devices, okay, from the real world we are taking a lot of informations with the help of sensors, with the help of cameras. Okay, and then with the help of, and we form a DB, other structured content. இது வந்து சொல்லலாம் ஒரு banking information. Okay, I'm having some banking information, some schooling informations. Okay, so these are all in the form of databases. So from all this I am getting data, and this data is initially processed. Pre-processing is the same database, or whatever it is, I need to go for some pre-processing. So what is that? Data cleaning படிச்சிருக்கோம் அதுல. Okay, and then you go for noise removal. Cleaning சொல்லும்போது noise remove பண்றோம், and then relevant ஆன features வந்து எடுக்கிறோம் with the help of feature extraction. Okay, and then we make some normalization. Data வந்து ஃபிக்ஸடான ஃபார்மேட்ல இல்லை அப்படின்னா, டூ ஹை ரேஞ்சாக இருக்குது அப்படின்னா, அல்காரிதம்ஸ் எக்ஸிக்யூட் பண்ணுறப்ப the algorithm will become too slow, or it not going to give the correct result, because நம்ம எப்போவுமே மெஷின் லேர்னிங் இதெல்லாம் வந்து டேட்டாவை பொறுத்து தான். தட் இஸ் வாட் இஸ் த டேட்டா ஆன் விச் யூ ஆர் பெர்ஃபார்மிங் த லேர்னிங் அப்படிங்கிறதான். வாட் இஸ் த டேட்டா மீன்ஸ் வாட் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் நமக்கு experience. If you have a bad company, if you have a bad experience, naturally our performance will be impacted by the bad experience. The same way, the learning problem பத்தி நான் சொல்றேன், E and P. Okay, so E is all about the data. Okay, so E is experience, is all about the data, so that is going to influence the performance. So that's where the learning lies. Okay, so normalization is an important component, because we have to normalize the values what is retrieved by some devices. ஓகே, ஸோ க்ளீன் பண்ணுறோம், நார்மலைஸ் பண்ணுறோம், நமக்கு தேவையானதை மட்டும் எடுத்துக்கிறோம், ரெலவென்ட் டேட்டாவை மட்டும் எடுத்துக்கிறோம், அண்ட் திஸ் வி கிவ் இட் டு த நெக்ஸ்ட் ஃபேஸ் வேர் sometimes we need to have a dimensionality reduction. So that is size, feature selection, feature extraction. So when I talk about feature extraction, it is actually image இருக்கு, இமேஜை வந்து நீங்கள் கன்வெர்ட் பண்ணி ஃபீச்சர்ஸாக எக்ஸ்ட்ராக்ட் பண்ணிக்கிறீங்க. இன்டென்சிட்டி, சேச்சுரேஷன், இதெல்லாம் அதுலேருந்து ரிட்ரைவ் பண்ணிங்கன்னா தட் இஸ் ஃபீச்சர் எக்ஸ்ட்ராக்ஷன். ஓகே, ஸோ வீடியோ இருக்குது, வீடியோலேருந்து ஃபீச்சர் எக்ஸ்ட்ராக்ட் பண்ணுறீங்க, அண்ட் தென் so these two you can put as one called as pre-processing. Okay, so then if you are taking only those relevant details, you call it as feature selection. Okay, and then feature projection, whatever it is, and then dimensionality reduction, it is going to reduce the size of the data so that we will have the minimal data which could give the maximum performance. And then you apply this data to the data model, that is a learning model, where it may be a classification, regression, or clustering, or mere description about the data, and you have a tested model. Okay, so here you are having some methods of improving performance like cross validation, k-fold cross validation. நம்ம நார்மலா ரிசர்ச் பண்றப்ப we rely on k-fold cross validation. K is equal to 10, a typical size. Okay, என்னோட செட்டப்லாம் I had it as k is equal to 10. Of course I varied it, but still the optimal performance we normally get it for k is equal to 10-fold cross validation. Bootstrap is also a sampling mechanism which could improve the performance in a test environment. Okay, and this result you will be giving you for the actual, once again it actually comes back to the real environment, real world, where it applies to some uh, area of the real world problem. Okay, so this is the learning process or the stages in which you are going to perform the learning. Next is, I think till now it's okay. So if you have anything, no, you can stop me there. Yes. Learning scenarios. So probably there are 4 categories, okay, 4 broad categories. You're all familiar with this. That is supervised learning. நிறைய படிச்சிருப்போம் இதை பத்தி. Unsupervised learning, and then reinforcement learning and semi-supervised learning. Supervised learning is like learning with the help of a teacher or a supervisor or with the help of some solid experience or solid examples. Okay, experience in the form of examples. Already நமக்கு தெரியுது எல்லாமே. You have some X as well as you have a Y. You have an X as well as you have a Y. Okay, you have examples saying that if this is a set of X, this will be the Y value. This will be your target. So when you have been given with this, and in a new scenario, if I am given with X, I should be able to predict what is Y. Okay, so in the case of spam detection, so இது problem எப்படி இருக்கும்? So you are having lot of data where set of X இருக்கு. What is that? Email ஓட length, spam email இருந்தா அதுக்கு ஒரு specified length இருக்குன்னு வச்சுக்கோம். அதோட domain வந்து ஏதோ ஒரு particular formatல இருக்கும், ஏதோ ஒரு particular timeல send பண்றாங்க, particular countryல இருந்து வருது, எத்தனை பேருக்கு அந்த இமெயில வந்து at a time அனுப்புறாங்க அப்படிங்கிறது. இப்போ நம்ம normal mails அனுப்பும்போது we target only a single person. Okay, but when it is an email spam, they target multiple people. So like that you can have different attributes x1, x2, x3, x4 and all. And in which case இந்த மாதிரி x இருந்துச்சுன்னா, whether it is a email or spam or not, 0 or 1, 0 or 1. Like this you have a DB. And this DB is used to train the model, the learning model. Okay, so the task keeps improving its performance. Okay, and finally, in a test environment, whenever you are given with some characteristics about an email, we'll be able to say whether it is an email or not. So this we have to do it in a very fast manner. Actually, email spam filtering is done in an online manner. Online in the sense, you cannot store it and take decision. As and when it reaches your inbox, the server has to decide, the Gmail server has to decide whether it is a spam or not, and it has to put in the appropriate folders. It is done. It's in a matter of second, that particular algorithm is being executed. And then unsupervised learning, where you are not supplied with training instances. Okay, you have only your X. Okay, you have only your X. And the best example is World Wide Web makes something called as document clustering. So in the best way of learning in unsupervised model is clusters. That is finding out some groups or groups which are having some similar characteristics. So document clustering நம்ம எதுக்கு பண்றோம்னா, நிறைய பேர் நம்ம வேர்ல்ட் வைட் வெப்ல வந்து நிறைய டாக்குமெண்ட்ஸ் வந்து அப்லோட் பண்ணிட்டே இருக்கிறோம். Okay, we are keep adding lot of contents. The search engines has a very important task. What is that? Whenever you sit and ask for a particular information, particular document on the World Wide Web, it searches for that information and it has to bring it for you. Okay, அதை எடுத்துட்டு வரணும் உங்களுக்காக. ஓகே, உங்களுக்கு கொண்டு வந்து கொடுக்கணும். ஓகே, this is what you ask for அப்படின்ட்டு அதை கொண்டு வந்து கொடுக்குறப்ப those information has to be relevant. நீங்க கேட்டதா இருக்கணும். அப்பதான் you are happy with the search engine. Okay, I'm happy with all Google. Okay, always it brings what I asked for. Okay, so that is possible with the help of something called as clustering. Identifying the keywords, what is inside the document, identifying the images, what is inside the document, that is exploring the content, exploring the similarity of the content with one document and another. It forms a group. Okay, it forms a cluster and says that all this belongs to, or it speaks about animals, all this speaks about birds, or particular this document speaks about ostriches. Okay, this particular document speaks about some kind of rabbits. This particular document speaks about computer networks. This particular document speaks about State Bank of India. So like this, it categorizes the documents and it has some common characteristics. It puts into some group and labels it, so that when an user sits before the computer and asks for some information, it can retrieve a best bag of information. Okay, அந்த பேக்கை தூக்கிட்டோம்னா அந்த பேக்ல இருக்கிறது எல்லாமே வந்து நம்ம கேட்கறதுக்கு ரெலவெண்டா இருக்கும். Okay, reinforcement learning is something what more related to how we learn. Okay, reinforcement learning. ஓகே, என்னதாவது ஒரு செய்கிறோம், அப்போது குழந்தைங்க வந்து ஸ்கூல்ஸ்க்கு போகிறப்ப they just keep learning by uh, from the rewards or punishments what they get from their teachers. வீட்டிலேருந்து வளர்ந்து ஒரு 3 yearsல நம்ம when they leave them in school, no, they keep learning every day from the mistakes they make. ஓடனா விழுவோன்னு சொல்கிறது, ஓகே, சின்ன சின்ன விஷயங்கள் அவங்க எப்படி கற்றுக்குறாங்கன்றதை பார்த்தீங்கன்னா தட் இஸ் வாட் இஸ் லேர்னிங் இஸ் ஆல் அபவுட். ஓகே, they make mistakes, okay, they make mistakes. எதையாவது ஒன்று கிழிச்சு போடுறது செஞ்சு அப்போ திட்டு வாங்குறப்ப வந்து they find that, oh yes, we are not supposed to do it. Okay, so those kind of learning we come under reinforcement learning. So that is board games like the chess இந்த மாதிரிலாம் இருக்கிறப்ப, so we realize, no, my son used to say after playing, no, he says that I made a bad move. Okay, that was a point where I made a bad move. And so amma, that's the point where you made a bad move, where you went wrong. Okay, so that's a mistake. So that sort of mistake we will not repeat in the next thing. So if you are able to learn from the experiences in terms of positive or negative, so that we call it as reinforcement learning. And even chatbots, no, reinforcement learning is playing a major role in chatbot. So nowadays, no, every portal which we open, no, it gives you options for this chatbots. Immediately some personal assistant window opens and keeps saying how can I help you, and so on. So these are all following the reinforcement learning. They try to improve themselves, improve their performance with the help of the awards or the reinforcement. How many times I'm relevantly asking the queries of the customer, so that's very important. So they keep improving their performance. Actually, the Turing Award, no, Turing was saying that Alan Turing is a person which we learn from automata theory, because he talks about this computability theory. An award is given after him for people who develop some advancements, key advancements in this machine learning or artificial intelligence. Actually, some award is given every year. A team of people is already bagging. Recently, people who developed this deep learning concepts has been awarded the Turing Award. Actually, 3 people have got it, this Turing Award. It's actually Turing was imagining about something. So there should be a day when a person who sits before the computer and he's asking for some information, and he will not know that this information is given by a computer, not a human. Okay, so that is, I can put it in the other way. That is, நான் இப்போ வந்து ஒரு சிஸ்டத்தில் வந்து யார்கிட்டயும் நான் பேசுகிறேன் அப்படிங்கும்போது I feel that I am discussing with a human, but actually it's not a human, it's a machine. If suppose if you are able to come to a day something like that, then he said that the artificial intelligence has achieved so much. Okay, so I think we have come to a situation like that, because earlier when chatbots were there, really we think that someone is there and answering you all this stuff. Okay, but actually it's not the case. It's some learning program. Okay, it's some chatbots which is sitting and it's answering your queries. And then semi-supervised learning, which is actually practically useful today, because in most of the cases we cannot always have labeled instances. Okay, we cannot always have these labeled instances. You may have some unlabeled instances as well. Okay, a mix of labeled and unlabeled. Many instances are unlabeled, and you have only few instances which are labeled. So this is a practical scenario. The practical scenario is not this where we got 90% accuracy in decision tree, okay, or 95% in something. It's not the case. Okay, even when COVID started, okay, I attended a postdoc interview in an university in Finland in the month of February in 2020, and I couldn't make it because of all this pandemic and things. And at that time, they were talking about all the semi-supervised. The team which were working on was on drug discovery. Actually, they were working on this drug discovery, and they were using some concept called this transfer learning. That is to use the concepts what we have learned from one domain or in one problem into a similar kind of another problem. Okay, because அதுதான் practically feasible. So first initially COVID வந்தப்ப we don't know what will be the symptoms, what will be the curatives. Okay, we didn't know anything, but we could approach it as humans. We could approach it because we did know that something similar to this came somewhere around 2-3 years back. Okay, called SARS virus. And so the treatment procedures and symptoms were somewhat similar to that. So maybe that will help. So like that only we started the treatment, or the started handling the coronavirus, the COVID situation in that manner. So transfer learning is something, இப்போ நம்ம இது கூட இன்னொரு பாயிண்டா கூட நம்ம அதை ஆட் பண்ணிக்கலாம், which is coming into seen because of the semi-supervised nature. Not all situations, or practical situation la இப்போ ட்ரக் டிஸ்கவரிலாம் பார்த்தோன்னா ஒரு நியூ சினாரியோ, தட் இஸ் வி ஆர் ட்ரைங் டு எக்ஸ்ப்ளோர் அ நியூ ட்ரக். இப்போ நம்ம வேக்சின் கண்டுபிடிச்சிருக்காங்க, இல்லைனா கோவிட்க்கு ஒரு க்யூரேட்டிவ் மெடிசின் கண்டுபிடிக்கிறாங்க அப்படின்னா இட்ஸ் அ ட்ரக் டிஸ்கவரி ப்ராசஸ், இட்ஸ் அ நியூ திங். ஓகே, இட்ஸ் நாட் இதுக்கு ஒரு புது புது earlier மேட்ச் நமக்கு இருக்கணும், ஒரு எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் இருக்கணும் அப்படின்னா இருக்காது. ஓகே, ஸோ இன் that case a machine has to learn, a human can learn in that scenario as well, so the machine should also learn in that scenario. So semi supervised learning is a case where you have labeled instances and unlabeled instances, but we have very few labeled instances and a large number of unlabeled instances. So with the help of this few known cases, we try to approach the unknown cases. Okay, so transfer learning, again we are having two types actually. Zero shot, so just for your, suppose if you're taking forward for research, zero shot learning and one shot learning. That is, you don't have any examples, okay, you don't have anything at your hand, okay, and you have to start something. And then one shot learning, of course you know at least one scenario, like what COVID vandappa SARS ni edo or virus, it's similar kind of virus irukku, so that I just get ready to approach this with the knowledge what I have for that. Okay, so I just transfer the knowledge what I had to treat that disease to the new one. Okay, yes, supervised learning, can you give me a minute now? Yes, supervised learning. So given a training set, you have some example which is of the form input pairs x and y. Okay, so x and y, given a set of x, you have some y for it. So it's given this format x1, y1, x2. So actually this x1 is, it can be actually a set of x. Okay, again this is a set of x. Okay, so now actually the supervised learning எப்படி approach பண்ணுதுன்னா, you are in the y வேல்யூங்கிறது எக்ஸ்ல இருந்து நம்ம டிரைவ் பண்றோம் with the help of a function f. ஸோ இது மேத்தமெட்டிக்கல் மாடல் தான் எல்லாமே. வாட் இஸ் தட், y, இது நம்ம வந்து படிச்ச அந்த லீனியர் ஈக்குவேஷன், அது கூட நம்ம வச்சுக்கலாம். y is returned in terms of x with the help of a function f. ஓகே, ஸோ இந்த ஃபங்க்ஷனை தான் நம்ம என்ன பண்ண ட்ரை பண்ணுறோம்னா அப்ராக்சிமேட் பண்ண ட்ரை பண்ணுறோம் சூப்பர்வைஸ்ட் லேர்னிங்கில். ஓகே, திஸ் ஃபங்க்ஷன் we are trying to approximate, அதாவது இந்த f வந்து ஆக்சுவல் ஃபங்க்ஷன், எதை வச்சு நம்ம எக்ஸ்ல இருந்து y ஜென்ரேட் பண்ணோங்கிற ஆக்சுவல் ஃபங்க்ஷன். ஓகே, இந்த f அப்படிங்கிறதுக்கு பதிலாக we are trying to find out, the model is trying to find out a best approximation h by searching through the hypothesis space. That is your examples எல்லாம் வச்சு ஒரு ட்ரைனிங் செட்டை வச்சு நம்ம என்ன பண்ணுறோம் அப்படின்னா, எக்ஸ் இருக்கிற இந்த if this is a combination of x, this is my y, if this is a combination of x, this is my y. இதை வச்சு நான் ட்ரை பண்ணி how the permutations and combinations, mathematical modelsல I am trying to find the best approximation of this function f. So always in the learning process you have two sets of data, training and testing. Okay, so suppose if you are given an input data set, you divide it into two. Okay, one is the training set, the other is a test set. In the training set, you use it for the examples with the x value as well as the y value. You train and you try to find out some h. Okay, that is a hypothesis which is the best approximation of the original thing. Okay, and then now in the testing case, you try to remove this y. Okay, you try to remove this y, okay, and you try to predict the value of y. So size y dash. And now you get an error. Actual is y and you are now predicted as y dash. If there is no error, if there is exactly they are same, the y and the y dash was same, then means your model is performing in a super duper manner. Okay, but there are chances where they are not exactly the same, there is some error, and then you keep changing or keep, so that's where your performance comes. Okay, so keep changing, now it's an experience. Okay, நல்ல பேடான ஒரு எரர் வருது, too much of error வருதுன்னா now you learn something. Okay, நான் செட் பண்ண ஏதோ ஒரு parameter wrong, so I go back, I change it. Okay, once again I try. Okay, I keep learning. I keep trying to improve my performance. So that's where learning lies. So learning is all about improving my performance with the help of the experiences. Okay. So supervised learning, basically classification and prediction comes under supervised learning. So if you are able to classification அப்படிங்கிறது, if you are having a finite set of values, that is you say it is a categorical value, or even if you are having two possible values, it is a binary case. Okay, that's a Boolean case, in which case it is called binary classification or Boolean classification. If you have a finite set of values, in which case also we call the problem as supervised learning problem as classification, if you are predicting a finite set of value as output. Okay, prediction, it's not, your y is not a finite set of categorical values, but it is a continuous value, it's a number, in which case you call it as prediction, and normally the model which is used for predicting the value is called regression. Okay, so it's a regression model. Next comes the unsupervised learning. So you normally in the supervised case you have examples in your hand, which means in other words I can say there is someone who knows about knows everything about the domain or the problem in your hand. So he gives you a lot of instruction guidelines about how you have to approach the problem. If that is the scenario, you call that as a supervised learning. But in the case of unsupervised learning, we don't have any examples in our hand. It's a new scenario where you don't have any labeled instances in our hand. In which case, suppose if you are trying to learn the hidden patterns, okay, the hidden structure, hidden meanings, hidden correlations in the data, okay, அதில் இருக்கக்கூடிய similarities, அதில் இருக்கக்கூடிய correlations கண்டுபிடிக்கணும்னு நினைக்கிறீங்க அப்படின்னா, so that comes under unsupervised learning. Okay, so you have only your x, given only your x, you don't have your y. Okay, you don't have your y. So normally the important task, like what I said, classification and prediction in in supervised learning. In the case of unsupervised learning, the task what you are doing is clustering. The important thing, it is nothing but grouping the data based on some similarity. Okay, so my research area is on data privacy. ஸோ அதுவும் அப்படி தான், இப்படி இந்த ஆர்டிஃபிஷியல் இன்டெலிஜென்ஸ் மாதிரி தான். நான் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணுறப்ப கிரிட் கம்ப்யூட்டிங் வாஸ் த பீக், ஸோ ப்ரைவசி வாஸ் அ கிரேட்டர் எலமெண்ட், அண்ட் ஸோ I started research as data privacy for grid computing environment. But the moment I started grid computing back now and cloud to existence, so at the end I do complete computing. It is even not in cloud, but I did it on Hadoop framework. Okay, because that was what was existing on big data. So data privacy, to achieve data privacy, earlier they were using some mere partitioning techniques. Okay, they were just dividing the data based on some criteria, not similarity. So my research was to make a clustering, so that I felt that when I group it to achieve privacy, okay, when I suppress the information to achieve privacy, the suppression should not impact the accuracy much. Okay, from a data purpose, I need to learn from it. I need to make some knowledge extraction out of it. But data privacy also matters. So there is a trade-off between this privacy and data accuracy, which I get after processing this data in form of analysis. எனக்கு இந்த டேட்டா யூஸே ஆக போகிறதுலன்னா நான் எங்கேயோ தான் போட்டிருக்க போகிறேன். பட் ப்ரைவசி கொஸ்டின் எங்கே வருதுன்னா, when I share with someone for the purpose of for knowledge or something. ஓகே, அப்போ நான் இன்னொருத்தர் ஷேர் பண்ணும்போது ப்ரைவசியும் எனக்கு வேணும், அதே நேரத்தில் நான் ஷேர் பண்ணுற பர்பஸ் இருக்கே, வாட் இஸ் தட், நாலேஜ் எக்ஸ்ட்ராக்ஷனுக்காக நான் கொடுக்குறப்ப அதுவும் காம்ப்ரமைஸ் ஆகக்கூடாது, ஆக்யூரஸியும் காம்ப்ரமைஸ் ஆகக்கூடாது. ஸோ அப்போ பீப்புள் வேர் டிபெண்டிங் ஆன் மெத்தட்ஸ் கால் பார்ட்டிஷனிங், that is dividing the data in some form. But I felt that there were also people parallelly working on clustering. Okay, clustering or the grouping the data based on their similarity, so that when you suppress the information, we will not lose so much of information. So in which case the accuracy will also be will not be compromised. Okay, so that method is called anonymization. So now again the cycle repeats and data privacy is at the peak. Okay, so it's at the peak, and my paper was thrown back, even saying that there is no suitable reviewers, it's out of the scope of the journal. But I think data privacy has a space in every journal now. Okay, And unsupervised learning is computationally complex. Okay, so when compared to, because as I said, it's because we don't have a labeled instance. Okay, we have to explore the data completely to find out, to uncover the pattern, what is underlying it. So it is computationally complex when compared to a supervised problem. Then reinforcement learning, the system in reinforcement, you perform an action in this environment. Okay, you just perform a task in an environment, and when you're performing a task, you get a feedback. Okay, it may be either a positive feedback or a negative feedback in terms of a reward or a punishment. In which case, what you do is you just try to change the way you are working, or the model is changed. You learn from it. Okay, you adapt to the situation. Okay, so this is learning to control a mobile robot. So that is reinforcement. நம்ம control பண்ணும்போது நமக்கு கிடைக்கக்கூடிய feedbacks வச்சுட்டு we are just making changes. And then factories-ல உள்ள operations வந்து நம்ம optimize பண்றதுக்கு again ப்ரொடக்ஷன் நம்ம பண்றப்ப, இல்லைன்னா ஆட்டோமேட்டிக்கா நம்ம ப்ரொடக்ஷன் லைன்ஸை ஆட்டோமேட் பண்றப்ப, ஈவன் ரோபோட் ஆர்ம்ஸ் வந்து சில வேலைகளை செய்யறப்ப, இஃப் யூ ஆர் கெட்டிங் அ குட் ரிவார்டு, நிறைய ப்ராடக்ட்ஸ் நம்மளால ப்ரொடியூஸ் பண்ண முடியுது. Okay, if the quality is best, in which case you get a positive feedback. If you are getting a punishment, then you have to iterate and we have to change our behavior. Similarly, in the case of board games. Okay, so this is about reinforcement learning. So here you can add one more thing, what I already said, it's a chatbot application. Semi-supervised learning. So we have a small amount of labeled data and large amount of unlabeled data. So this I already told you. Okay, so this is where real world situation where you cannot get labeled data. It is expensive or it's infeasible. COVID situation la vandu na vandu vaccine kandupidikkadukko illa drug kandupidikkadukko illa treatment பண்றதுக்கோ I should wait till I get so much of labeled data. That is, இந்த symptoms இருந்தப்ப மக்களுக்கு கோவிட் இருந்துச்சு நான் வந்து வெயிட் பண்ணணும் அப்படின்னா it's expensive. What is the expense? No, it's the life of people. The expense is the life of people. I had to lose so much of lives before I could get some labeled instances. But we did it. Actually, we lost the lives of so many people before we could just really find out that these type of drugs is working for it actually. Okay, இந்த ரெண்டு டோஸ், இந்த மாதிரி சில மெடிசின், சில விட்டமின்ஸ், இந்த மாதிரி சில ட்ரீட்மெண்ட் ப்ரொசீஜருக்குள்ள வரதுக்கு முன்னாடியே we lost so many people. So getting labeled data will be expensive or sometimes it is infeasible. In which case you have to go for semi-supervised learning. Inside semi-supervised learning, you have two criteria. Okay, one, நம்ம normal inductive learning mechanism, example based method, that is நம்மளுக்கு இருக்கக்கூடிய labeled instances வச்சு நம்ம வந்து unlabeled instances நம்ம என்ன பண்றோம், you are trying to, whenever you are trying to give an x, you will be trying to predict the y. இது நம்ம பண்ணணும்னு நினைக்கிறோம். இதான் நம்மளோட class problem, induction. So இதை நம்ம பண்ணணும்னு நினைச்சோம்னா that is inductive learning. But transductive learning is a component of semi-supervised learning where we are not going to this function, mapping, the modeling போகல, just என்ன பண்றோம்னா labeled instance வச்சு we are trying to predict the labels of the unlabeled instances. That's it. We are trying to infer the correct label for the unlabeled instances. So that is the purpose of transductive learning. இல்ல அந்த லேபிள்ஸ் இல்ல, நான் என்ன பண்றேன், அந்த கரெக்டான லேபிளை எனக்கு தெரிஞ்ச கேசஸை வச்சு ப்ரெடிக்ட் பண்ண ட்ரை பண்றேன். இன்னொரு கேஸ்ல இந்த செமி சூப்பர்வைஸ்ட் அப்படியே வச்சுட்டு ஓகே ஐ எம் ஹேவிங் சம் இன்ஸ்டன்சஸ் லேபிள்ட், சம் unlabeled. So classification and clustering இருக்கிற மாதிரி. So from which I try to find out a mapping x imply y. So standard learning task in பார்க்குறப்ப, so when how I say it as supervised, unsupervised, semi supervised and all, broad நம்ம வந்து அத learning நம்ம சொல்லும்போது algorithm நம்ம சொல்லும்போது classification algorithm, prediction algorithm, okay, ranking algorithm, clustering algorithm, associations algorithm, அப்படி association rule or association mining, okay, we say something like that. So classification, as you all know, it is going to assign a particular label to a item. Okay, so something coming under this stock market prediction, fraudulent detection systems, email spam filtering, etc., etc., whether it will rain or not. Okay, weather prediction system வச்சுட்டு நம்ம இன்னைக்கு ரெயின் வருமா வராதா, சுனாமி வருமா வராதா, earthquake வருமா வராதா, okay, whether there is an cyclone or not, okay, cyclone இருக்கா இல்லையா. So all these predictions, when you are trying to predict the label, you call that as classification problem. And then prediction, it's a problem of predicting a real value or a continuous value of a particular item. So this is with respect to predicting the temperature of a place, okay, numerical values. Predicting the temperature of a place, salary of people, stock market or value, okay, stock market value. So like this, whenever we have situations where we want to predict the numerical value based on some input vectors, it is called as a prediction problem. Regression is one of the main techniques which is used for prediction. Classification level நம்ம use பண்றோம் decision tree, artificial neural network, support vector machines, KNN, and so on. Okay, next is ranking. So ranking is a mechanism. So even in 2010, one of my ME student did her ME project on page ranking. Okay, but at that time the page ranking was mainly based on the keywords, keyword based retrieval. The system was not considering the semantics or the meaning of the document, okay, or what it speaks about. அன்னைக்கு இல்லை அந்த ontology development இது எல்லாமே ரொம்ப டஃப்பாக இருந்தது. ரிட்ரைவல் வந்து ஃபுல்லாகவுமே கீவேர்ட் பேஸ்டாக மட்டும் தான் இருந்துச்சு, லேர்னிங் இல்லை. கீவேர்ட்னு சொல்கிறப்ப டாக்குமெண்ட்ல மேக்ஸிமம் நம்பர் ஆஃப் நீங்கள் சர்ச் பண்ணுற கீவேர்டும் டாக்குமெண்ட்டில் வந்து இருக்கிற கீவேர்ட்ஸும் மேக்ஸிமம் சே கம்ப்யூட்டர்னு சர்ச் பண்ணுறோன்னா, சப்போஸ் இஃப் த டாக்குமெண்ட் ஹேஸ் கம்ப்யூட்டர் இன் அ மேக்ஸிமம் number, then that particular document will be ranked as the first URL. Okay, and the ranking வந்து ரொம்ப important. Okay, why? பிகாஸ் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் கிளிக் பண்ணுறது நம்ம அதானே கிளிக் பண்ணுறோம். கூகுள் சர்ச் இன்ஜின் சொல்கிறப்பவே அந்த லிங்க்ஸில் வந்து லாஸ்ட் லிங்கை போய் நம்ம ஃபஸ்ட்டு கிளிக் பண்ணுறது இல்லை. ஒரு சர்ச் பண்ணுறீங்கன்னா வி ஜஸ்ட் ட்ரை டு கிளிக் த ஃபர்ஸ்ட் திங். ஓகே, பட் அன்னைக்கு வந்து வெறும் கீவேர்ட் பேஸ்டாக மட்டும்தான் இருந்துச்சு. பட் நாட் டுடே. இன்னைக்கு வந்து அப்படி இல்லை. இன்னைக்கு வந்து யூசர் ஸ்பெசிஃபிக்காக கூட அது இருக்கு. ரிசர்ச் வந்து அன்னைக்கு போயிட்டு இருந்துச்சு. தட் இஸ் எந்த யூசருங்கிறத பொறுத்து இது வந்து இது பெர்ஃபார்ம் பண்ணும். ஸோ அன்னைக்கு நாங்கள் எனக்கு அது வந்து இருந்துச்சு. How it will be made user specific and all, no? But இன்னைக்கு it's very in a matter of just a sign in, no? நீங்க ஒரு ஜிமெயில் ஐடியை சைன் பண்ணி அந்த ப்ரௌசர்ல ஒர்க் பண்றப்ப the search engine can make it very personalized. The search engine answer need not be the same for you and some other person, because you may be a teacher, that person may be a student. The retrieval may be the search engine does not display the same ranking for you or some other person. If you are logged in as a user, or a particular user ID வச்சு login பண்ணிருந்தீங்கன்னா, the search engine need not return the same answer. Okay, so this ranking, there are so much of algorithms to perform this ranking. Again, this is now today learning based. It's understanding. It is grouping the documents based on the semantics. Okay, they make document clustering and all, and they perform the ranking mechanism. Clustering and classification ரெண்டுமே யூஸ் பண்றாங்க techniques, ரெண்டுமே யூஸ் ஆகுது to rank the items. And then clustering, it is to form some homogeneous groups or subsets or classes or categories by partitioning the data item. So clustering, as I said, it can be used in document clustering. Okay, and then it's used for some disease prediction system when there is no labeling. Okay, unseen cases are இருக்கும்போது we try to group similar diseases together, similar students together, similar geographical areas together. Okay, அப்போ tsunami prone areas நம்ம சொல்றோம், இல்லை earthquake prone areas னு சொல்றோம், cyclone prone areas னு சொல்றோம். So these areas will have common characteristics together, so we group them into one area. இப்போ மேப்ஸ் போகிறோம்னு சொல்கிறப்ப கூகுள் மேப்ஸ்லாம் பார்க்குறோமோ, தேர் இஸ் கிளஸ்டரிங், தேர் இஸ் குரூப்பிங். ஓகே, ஒரு ஏரியாவை வந்து அது வந்து ஒவ்வொரு விதமாக ஹைலைட் பண்ணி காட்டுது. Okay, so clustering is there, and associations is to find a mapping between data items. It is to find the correlations between data items. So இது நம்ம ரொம்ப பார்த்தது because it is the oldest technique which is available. Learning னு ஆரம்பிச்சப்ப first they started doing it in market basket analysis, because businessல வந்து revenue is all about business. So first எங்க வரும்னா மணி மேக்கிங்ல தான் இந்த எல்லா இன்னோவேஷன்ஸுமே வரும் in terms of money making. அதுக்கப்புறம் தான் அது வந்து இந்த மெடிக்கல் லைஃப் சேவிங் மெக்கானிசம்ஸ் கூட வருது. ஸோ ஃபர்ஸ்ட் பீப்புள் வந்து ஹெட் ஆகி போகிறது வந்து அட்வான்ஸ்மெண்ட்ஸ் வருது, டெக்னாலஜிக்கல் அட்வான்ஸ்மெண்ட்ஸ் வருது வந்து இந்த இதில் தான். ஸோ அதே மாதிரி டேட்டா மைனிங் இந்த மாதிரி கான்செப்ட்ஸ் ஆர் மெஷின் லேர்னிங் இந்த மாதிரி கான்செப்ட்ஸ் வந்து ஃபர்ஸ்ட் இவ்வளோ தூரம் வந்து ட்ரெண்டிங் ஆகிறதுக்கு காரணம் பிகாஸ் ஆஃப் த யூசிங் தீஸ் மெத்தட்ஸ் இன் பிஸ்னஸ். Okay, to improve business. So that's where market basket analysis comes in play. So first நம்ம யூஸ் பண்ண சக்ஸஸ்ஃபுல்லான லேர்னிங் அல்காரிதம்ஸ் அப்படிங்கிறது இந்த market basket analysis to find out what data is bought with what other data. What is the correlations or the mapping which exists between the data. Okay, so that's where it lies. And then, yes, concept learning. So normally நம்ம படிக்கிற அந்த decision tree, that is examples are based on நம்ம work பண்ற எல்லா learningமே it comes under the concept learning. That is it comes under concept learning because you have some hypothesis, you have some training examples, you know what is the input and output, and you try to get a best approximation. Okay, so it is based on some hypothesis called as inductive learning hypothesis. That is, if you are able to approximate a function in a large set of training examples, then surely it will perform in an unobserved examples. Okay, that is நம்மளுக்கு தெரியாத கேசஸ்லயும் கரெக்டா பண்ணும் அப்படிங்கிறது ஒரு assumption, ஒரு hypothesis. Hypothesis may be true or false. Okay, so inductive learning hypothesis base பண்ணி நம்ம develop பண்ற learning models எல்லாமே we call it as concept learning. ஓகே, ஒரு நிறைய எக்ஸாம்பிள்ஸில் நம்ம லேர்ன் பண்ணுற ஒரு விஷயம் கண்டிப்பாக நம்ம நல்லா லேர்ன் பண்ணிட்டோம். ஓகே, ஒரு புக்கை நல்லா தரவாக படிச்சிட்டோம் அப்படின்னா, இப்போ ஒரு போர்டில் கேட்குற ஒரு எக்ஸாம் இல்லை ஒரு யூனிவர்சிட்டியில் நம்ம கேட்குற எக்ஸாமை வந்து நம்மளால் ஃபேஸ் பண்ண முடியும். ஓகே, ஒரு அன்சீன் கேசஸ்க்கு நம்மளால் ப்ரிப்பேர் ஆக முடியும் அப்படிங்கிற அந்த கான்செப்ட் தான் இண்டக்டிவ் லேர்னிங் ஹைப்போதசிஸ். ஸோ இதில் எவால்வ் ஆகிற வேறு மெத்தட்ஸ் தான் டிசிஷன் ட்ரீ லேர்னிங், சப்போர்ட் வெக்டர் மெஷின்ஸ், நியூரல் நெட்வொர்க்ஸ் இன் ஆல். So actually, I'm not getting into the depth of all these methods like decision tree learning. So decision tree learning, எல்லாருமே நம்ம இதில் ஃபெமிலியராக இருப்போம் ஆக்சுவலாக decision tree learning. So it's an example based learning or an inductive learning or an instance based learning. Okay, so we call it as example based method. So here we try to create a decision tree which has a root node and several other nodes till you reach the leaf. So this tree, after the construction, the learning model, that is the learning model is the tree. The output of the learning model is a decision tree. So every tree can be converted into a rule. Okay, learning rule in the form of if and then. Okay, so starting from the root, you can have some if then rule. So outlook is equal to sunny. So suppose if you say that whether you go out to play or not. Okay, so this is an example. வெளியில போய் விளையாடுவீங்களா மாட்டீங்களா அப்படி நம்ம டிசைட் பண்றோம் அப்படின்னா, so outlook பார்க்குறோம், the cloud looks sunny. Okay, and the humidity is very high, so in which case we will not go for play. So now again it is sunny. Okay, if outlook is sunny and humidity is normal, then we'll go for play. Yes. Okay, so if the outlook is overcast, means light cloud irukku, so that's a very good environment to play actually. So we feel so good. Okay, we'll not feel sweaty. Okay, so we immediately we decide that we'll go for play. So if outlook is equal to rainy and one more condition is there, what is that? Wind is equal to strong, in which case we will not go out to play. If the wind is weak, if outlook is rainy and wind is weak, then you go out to play. So this is how you have to interpret the decision trees. That's what we have to learn. That is, இப்போதைக்கு நம்ம படிச்சிருக்கிறதுல any learning model, it takes some experience, okay, some examples, and it tries to learn, okay, by generating a model. Decision tree இருந்துச்சுன்னா, decision tree learning இருந்துச்சுன்னா, it creates a decision tree which has a root, okay, and other nodes. Every node forms an attribute. Every node is nothing but an attribute. The branch is nothing but the value of the attribute. Okay, and at the end the tree will stop at a point when the leaf node will have all the similar instances, similar values. So this yes or no represents a class. ஸோ எல்லா இன்ஸ்டன்சஸும் ஒரே கிளாஸுக்கு வரும்போது அந்த இடத்துல வந்து டிசிஷன் ட்ரீ அதுக்கு மேலே ப்ரியூன் ஆகாமல் ஸ்டாப் ஆயிடும். So here, after saying that all the instances which are saying that outlook is rain and wind is equal to weak, they would have had the class label as yes. Okay, in this case, all the class label is no. In this case, all the class labels which is meeting this condition is yes, which means that in the play column, it might have had yes. Okay, so now this is converted into an if then rule, and this is applied to the test instances, and the performance is evaluated based on correctly classified instances or accuracy. And once again, if there is error, you have to improve the performance with the help of a new set of examples. So this is how it goes. Suppose if it's an artificial neural network, which we are talking about, okay, if you're talking about an artificial neural network, so there you are trying to establish a neural network. Okay, we are trying to establish a neural network. In the case of so this is not the detail what. So every time, so this I'll show you. So every time you try to choose an attribute for the tree, the attribute divides the instance space or this example space into two halves with the help of a linear boundary. Okay, so once again, when I put another attribute, that attribute divides the example space into again two halves. So what is the aim of the separation is it has to finally end up with all the similar instances. So these are all similar instances. They have to come into one group. Okay, so this is my objective. So if here all the instances are of the same class, all the instances are of the same class. So I'm trying to establish some linear boundary with the help of attributes. So whenever I choose an attribute, I am trying to split the instance space into pure samples. Pure samples in the sense samples which are containing only a particular class. Okay, so here there are two classes. This red all belongs to one class and this all belongs to another class. So I try to take the best attribute which can divide the samples into positive or negative, red or black. Okay, so it has to make it pure. Okay, the entropy value is 0. So these details are not necessary. Okay, so next is artificial neural networks. The aim of this artificial neural networks is to establish a network of nodes. So this is your input layer, this is your hidden layer, and this is your output layer. So what is the condition of your neural network is you have to learn these weights. The main aim of the neural network is you have to learn the weights. So that's the aim of a neural network, and you have a bias also. Okay, so you give some input via this hidden layer to the output. You have y here. So and you initialize these weights to some values. Whenever your y and your predicted y, the original y and the predicted y is having so much of error, okay, the error is greater than 0, in which case once again you have to reiterate and you have to change the weights. Changing the weights is nothing but learning. The learning in neural networks is nothing but the changing the weights or adapting the weights to the given input. Okay, so there are two types of network. One is a feed forward network where there is no cycles. Okay, just the input is fed to the output. But the case of recurrent neural network, you will be having a feedback as well. Okay, feedback to the previous layer. So this recurrent network is playing a major role in the deep learning concepts as well. So in the case of neural network, you can have a linear boundary as well as you can have, this is a non-linear boundary. So linear now, no, the y is equal to mx plus c. So this helps you to divide the plane into two. Okay, so this called linear separation. So if you use a parabola or if you use an ellipse or something kind of thing, no. So these are all non-linear structures. Suppose if you are using some non-linear structures to separate the points into different categories, so that case you call it as non-linear. So this is a non-linear boundary, decision boundary. So that non-linear prediction is possible with the help of multi-layer, that is more than one hidden layer. If you have more than one hidden layer, we call that as multi-layer network or a single layer perceptron model arrangement. It will be predicting only linear problems. Okay, non-linear problems ko apply panna mudiyadu. Linear problem na the problem in which the points are separable by a linear boundary. Okay, linear structure. So this is the internal meaning. So of the methods. Support vector machine, it's a very popular method which normally operates in a non-linear space. So what is the main objective of SVM is it converts this non-linear space into a linear space by making a mapping. Okay, so it maps this high dimensional value into a new space so that it will convert this non-linear space into linear space. SVM is applicable for almost any type of data. Okay, linear or non-linear. So it's applied for any type of data and it gives a promisable accuracy. Okay, so here we are trying to, in the case of support vector machine, what you are trying to predict is, so this is called one support vector, this is called another support vector. Now we are trying to find out support vectors in such a way that the margin has to be maximum, maximal margin hyperplane. So the mathematical concepts behind SVM is to find out the maximum margin between these two support vectors. Okay, you have to find out a boundary such that the gap between the positive sample, suppose if you take this is a positive sample and this is your negative sample, this has to be maximum. I'm trying to find out a structure. Okay, I'm trying to find out a boundary which will be having this as maximum. Okay, so நிறைய இருக்கும், இப்படியும் போடலாம். Okay, இப்படியும் போடலாம். But this maximum இது வந்து கம்மியா இருக்கும், இந்த கேப் வந்து ரொம்ப கம்மியா இருக்கும். Okay. Even I can have something like this. So this is less than what I drew earlier. So you try to find out some decision boundaries to separate the points into positive and negative by having the maximum margin. Nearest neighbor, so this is very popular method, KNN. So this I have used in my research as well. So it's a lazy learner because it doesn't find out any model like all the previous methods what we have learned. It just finds out k similar instances to myself. So if I want to be classified whether I have to determine my class label, I will find some k neighbors whose class labels are known, as well as whose x values are similar to me, who are my neighbors. I try to find out k neighbors who are similar to me, and if the k neighbors belong to the class A, then I will also be put into class A. If the k neighbors belong to class B, then I will also be put to class B. Either it may be in the case of average, if in the case of prediction, the class value will be taken as an average. In the case of classification, the class label will be predicted based on majority voting. The 10 பேர்ல வந்து 8 பேர் வந்து class A ன்னு சொன்னாங்கன்னா, I will also be put in class A. If the majority says 7 says that it is in class B, then I will be put in class B. Okay, so only 5 more minutes. The last type is analytical learning or explanation based learning. இது வரைக்கும் நம்ம பார்த்தது எல்லாமே ஒரு மாதிரி structured learning. Okay, மெஷின்ல வந்து ஒரு பென் அண்ட் பேப்பர் மெத்தட்ல தியரிட்டிக்கலா நம்ம சொல்ற மாதிரி, பட் ரியல் லைஃப்ல வந்து நம்ம லேர்ன் பண்றது அப்படிங்கிறது, it is with respect to our prior knowledge, not only by the input data what we are receiving, but it's also relies on lot of prior knowledge what we have. Deduction நம்ம பண்ணுவோம், ஒண்ணுல இருந்து நிறைய permutations combinations போட்டு தான் நம்ம brain வந்து ஆக்சுவலா ஒரு decision make பண்ணும். So that's called analytical learning or explanation based learning. So we are trying to achieve that. So we are trying to predict or we are trying to learn something with the help of the prior knowledge what we have. Okay, so domain theory or background knowledge நம்ம சொல்றோம்ல, prior knowledge, அதுவுமே வந்து இந்த எக்ஸாம்பிள்ஸோட சேர்த்து நம்ம வந்து அச்சீவ் பண்ணணும்னு நினைக்கிறோம். So this I already told you about the performance measures, accuracy, precision, recall, இந்த மாதிரி எது வேணாலும் எடுத்து நம்மளோட பெர்ஃபார்மன்ஸை அச்சீவ் பண்ணிட்டு we can reiterate our model. So last I would like to conclude this by saying one thing. நம்ம ஏன் இதை இப்போ திரும்ப அதை ரிவைவ் பண்றோம் அப்படின்னா, because of the revolutions what is happening parallelly in the industry, that is industry 4.0. that is a very main reason. Industry 4.0, that is it looking for complete automation of all its lines, right from procurement of raw materials to the supply chain end வரைக்கும், demand and supply, அந்த end to end வந்து கம்ப்ளீட்டா ஆட்டோமேட் பண்ணணும் ட்ரை பண்றாங்க. ஸோ வேர் இன் விச் IoT is playing a major role, that is industrial IoT or IoT is playing a major role, where lot of physical devices is collecting numerous informations and this information is processed with the help of machine learning techniques. Okay, so that's why we are too much interested in all this artificial intelligence. Everybody is interested in, people in from other departments as well are very curious to know that what is machine learning or what is AI or what is data mining or deep learning, because they have production varumbodhu all this other people from other domain like mechanical or civil, everybody comes into play and they are involved with, and so many companies are now entering into complete automation or complete IO based intelligent production wings like Rolls-Royce car or RD car. இவங்க எல்லாருமே வந்து அவங்களோட ப்ரொடக்ஷன் லைன்ஸை வந்து கம்ப்ளீட் ஆட்டோமேட்டிவ் பண்றதுக்கு ட்ரை பண்ணிட்டு இருக்காங்க. ஸோ தட்ஸ் வேர் வி ஆர் ஹெட்டிங் டுவர்ட்ஸ். அண்ட் இன் 2002, like what Gartner says, 80% of companies will be looking for or it would have employed AI and ML based projects. Okay, so I say this and I conclude it, and I thank for the opportunity what is given to me. I thank every one of you for patiently listening to my session. I thank the people who have requested me as a resource person. I thank Aravind sir once again for the nice prior. If whether any queries? No, I'll feel happy to answer.
Yeah, participants, if you have any queries, you can please ask participants. If you have any queries, you can please ask. So at the outset, we wish to once again thank you one and all who made this FDP's this session a very successful one. First of all, we thank the Lord Almighty for His manifold blessing. Also, we wish to thank our resource person, J. Svedhanayagi ma'am, for coming here and sharing her intellectual knowledge. It was a very wonderful session, ma'am. It was very interesting and it was very useful. And we thank you for being as a resource person for us in midst of your busy schedule, madam. We thank you, ma'am. And it was a very wonderful, thought-provoking session. We thank you for being with us and sharing your intellectual knowledge. We also wish to thank all one and all who made this session a grand success. We wish to thank our management. We wish to thank our management, and also wish to thank our principal, Dr. V. Velmurugan, for all his support. And also we wish to thank our HOD madam, Professor P. Pinda, for all her tireless effort. Special thanks to our coordinators, Professor Dr. S. Gomadi madam, and also Shiv Kumar sir for all their tireless efforts. Last but not the least, we wish to thank you one and all the participants who are patiently listening and who are attentive for this session. So the feedback link is posted in the chat box. We want you to fill the feedback form. So thank you one and all who made this session a grand success. Once again, Jason ma'am, thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for. Thank you.